Jack's gotten a tad toasty. This is your look at the Diamond Select, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Burnt Santa Jack Collector's Action Figure. Jack Skellington, the Pumpkin King of Halloween Town, had grown tired of his yearly routine when he discovered a doorway to another world called Christmas Town. Fascinated with the trappings of this new holiday, Jack tries to take over Christmas duties from Santa Claus, but he is clueless about joy and merriment as the other scare-happy citizens of Halloween Town. Now, with Christmas in danger of not coming at all, Jack must undo the damage he has wrought. This deluxe action figure of Burnt Santa Jack Skellington from Tim Burton's Night Before Christmas comes with a piece of Halloween Town Guillotine. Collect all 6 parts from Series 7 and 8. Before we check out new offerings from Diamond Select for their growing Nightmare Before Christmas line, the first thing we're going to do is calculate just how tall Burnt Santa Jack stands. Speaking of Diamond Select, I'd like to send out a big mad props thanks for them providing the sample of Burnt Santa Jack that we're having a look at in this review. Stopping the tape measure at the very top of his head. Truthfully, just between you and me, I actually did cheat. I'm using the display stand just behind Santa Jack so he can actually stand straight up. Nonetheless, though, you're looking at the figure of Burnt Santa Jack. Gotta keep reminding myself to add burnt before that. He stands at 8.7 inches in height. And switching that quickly over to centimeters, then you're looking at the figure standing 22.1. So a little over 22 centimeters tall. Perhaps not as exciting as Santa Jack, but he does come included with some pretty neat looking pamphlets. I was looking through these, seeing what perhaps offerings we're going to be getting in future waves. Some of these we've already, of course, had a look at, specifically like, for example, the Series 5 figures. There's also deluxe coffin dolls. If you prefer your Nightmare Before Christmas figures to be a little bit more bigger, a little bit more in that collectible scale grade. And then there's also Series 6 as well. Flipping around to the back, a couple of anniversary deluxe action figures, and Town Square, some mini-mates as well. Also to come included with Burnt Santa Jack, he comes included with an instruction guide. I'll make this short, sweet, and to the point. The instruction guide basically just shows you all the various accessory pieces for the guillotine. Santa Jack does come, well, I sort of gave it away, I already know that, gave this part away. He does come included with the wall, but just basically shows you how you connect everything when it's all said and done and you have all the figures put together. You can, of course, build yourself the pretty neat-looking guillotine. I like that with the future waves, the waves that we're talking about like right now in the future waves, they contain them so that you don't have to buy every single figure from Series 1 all the way to now to build one larger diorama. Here you get smaller opportunities to build these out and then just simply add them to the larger scope and landscape of Halloween Town. Speaking of smaller pieces of a Halloween Town, Burnt Santa Jack comes included with a wall face. Well, this is sort of part of a larger, of course, picture, a larger diorama. As you can see, there are connector points on either side, and there's an opening slot here on the side of the wall post. These, again, are going to be things that are going to connect to other pieces to form the larger guillotine. The front face does look at least finished. So if you're not somebody that wants to complete the entire guillotine set and content perfectly fine just with collecting Burnt Santa Jack, one good thing is about it is you can at least just use the wall on this side so you wouldn't be able to see the unfinished portions of it behind the wall. Really is nice details overall when it comes to this. Still the continuation of colors you would expect to find with a lot of the Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas. Generally very gray and dark and color scheme, but there really are a lot of interesting elements. Like they've added this dry brushing of almost like a blue-based gray. Not everywhere, mind you, but just in enough places that it allows for like the rock face, the little brick stones here to stand out. Does really look quite nice. Along the top there as well, there's a little, well, he's not so much a little, quite a large jack-o'-lantern just on the top there. And he looks just as good as the detailing done to the rest of the wall face. Just again, really like this. I will be, of course, inclined to want to pick up all of the pieces so I can build out the Guillotine set. But I do like the fact that this one does come included with at least this front of the wall finished. So again, if you don't want to collect every single one of these figures, you'll be missing your chance, by the way, to collect a really great collection of things. But you can still, of course, display Burnt Santa Jack with the wall face behind him. In a way, it's a bit of a shame, really, that that's the only accessory that comes included with Jack. We're going to just put him down. I'm just going to lay him down for 1 second. I just want to talk quickly about the display stand that comes included with him as well. It's a circular clear stand. Yes, I know anybody can see that. And there's also a little peg right there. Now, this peg doesn't serve any purpose for Jack. His feet are way too tiny. There's no way that they're going to be able to actually attach in place. But the neck itself does have, of course, a few little knuckle joints where these will adjust. Right out the gate, though, I do notice, and I'll just bring this up fully extended here. One thing also I mentioned too, or will mention, is have a screwdriver trusting readily available. I noticed that a lot of these screws are super tight on these, and the last thing you certainly would want to have happen is bend this too abruptly and you break the plastic clip inside. But what I was going to say, though, if I have it fully extended, and let's say we put Jack next to it, the way that they've actually got this lined up, there's a hole located just on the back of the figure. You can see it, it's right there. If you line the two up, the peg point that's going to peg into Jack is simply just too high. Now, obviously, you can fix that by just bringing this down, and it can peg into place. So it isn't something that you can have it completely straight. As you can see, it's the only way that you can attach to Jack's back is the torso point, is by actually having this slightly bent. Now, that's perfectly fine and good. It just means he's not going to be able to stand on the display stand. I guess if you wanted to, you could bring these back slightly and then just kind of bring him a little bit further up onto the top there. And then you can kind of have him somewhat standing on the display stand like that. Anyways, let's go ahead and take this off. We don't want to certainly spend a lot of time talking about the display stand. Missing an opportunity, I feel, to discuss what a great looking Jack Skellington we have. We've gotten ourselves various Jack Skellingtons in various different clothes. This is the one that happens to be him in his Santa outfit, ... burnt Santa outfit, ... You can see there's a lot of areas on Santa's clothing here that has, as you can see, now revealing Jack's clothes underneath here. It's slightly got a little bit of a darker kind of burnt coloring to it, to the otherwise burgundy color that's already in his costume. I want to certainly talk about the face. When it comes to Jack Skellington faces, it's hard to find one that's better than Diamond's offerings here. That is a really candid, perfect portrait of how Jack Skellington appears in the film itself. A nice big smile on his face, I have to say, as well. You can see there's some visible teeth there as well. Those little wrinkles that he's got also around his lip portion is also featured here on the figure as well. Nice dark sockets for his eyes. I mean, really all the panel aligning that they've done to like the lips, the nose, for example, and the dark coloring that they've done to the eyes is certainly a way to allow the head sculpt to pop. And it definitely does do that. I'm really, really happy with how this head sculpt turned out. Now, it's not to say, I probably could say you could be able to take this off. It's a ball joint underneath this, allowing the figure's head to move up and down. In technical terms, you probably could be able to pull this off and replace it with another Jack Skellington head. But just simply because they are using such small ball joints, I don't know if I would risk the idea of popping this off in favor of a different expression on Jack Skellington's face. So I think for that reason, I'm probably just going to leave it alone. As I said, though, the rest of the body is basically just Jack Skellington dressed up as Santa Claus. So as you can see, he's got a little ruffled collar there, done in the white. Doesn't have it anywhere else on his body. In fact, the only other places that start revisiting the color of white is the colors of his hands, for example. And you can see the nice detailing done to his hands, where each of the individual knuckle joints have all been painted here in black. He's also got that also in his wrist as well. I love these little straps of fabric that he's got draping down from his sleeves. It's just enough, peekaboo, there I can see you, that you can see is pinstripe sleeves underneath that. And he's got that, that's the case everywhere actually. When you look at his arms, the sleeves, the sides of his leg, lower down on his leg, and even more further than that, a lot of areas where, like I said, his Jack Skellington outfit starts peeking its way through. That's what it looks like on the back of the figure. You've got sort of the same thing as his regular outfits, the tailored tail on the back of Santa Jack's outfit here. A little bit of green here also for his belt. Nice little touches is the fact that they've got the little bit of fabric that drapes down, as you can see. He's got a little like a little rip right there, where the little bit of fabric is flopping its way over top, covering over Jack's little belt. Look how tiny that belt would be. I could be hard-pressed to try to pinpoint just what size that belt actually is. Would that be like a size 4? I'm certainly not a size 4. The belt buckle itself has some silver done to it. The silver would be smaller, of course, the paint. And they've done pretty good of a job. See a little bit of the silver carrying over onto the actual top part of his shirt. But it's not enough that you see it. I mean, it's only because I'm looking at it really, really close. He's got a little rip there that's draping down to the side. As I said, he's already got nice detailing done to the back tail portion of his jacket here. And overall, it's just a decent-looking Jack Skellington. He's spindly, yes, and that obviously goes without saying. I mean, obviously, Jack Skellington is a very spindly-looking chap. Because of that, there are, of course, things that you have to be careful of that maybe normal figures wouldn't necessarily be the case. For example, the way that he's pegged together, they're all using pretty much like universal-sized or universal-type joints. They're pinned or sort of sandwiched together, as you can see. There's the top half, there's the bottom half. And that's the case really with all of them as well. It does allow for some flexibility, and certainly there's a lot of posability to be had on Jack Skellington. Like, you could bring his arms completely up if you wanted to. He's not limited at all. It's just a case where you really want to be careful when you are moving things on his joints, like his elbows, his shoulders, for example, because they're all small. All the limbs, for example, are very spindly, so of course when you're looking at the articulation on this guy, you really want to be careful. So the posability on this guy, his head rotates all the way around. I sort of want to go back and scratch a previous statement that I made about possibly being able to remove the head. I mean, why would you really want to change that head sculpt anyways? But I thought perhaps if it used the same style of peg system, but I mean, really, again, you wouldn't want to be popping this off, and the risk, of course, that could potentially break. But his head does rotate all the way around, no problems whatsoever. You can move the head up and down slightly, as there's a ball joint just at the base, hidden there by the furred collar. The arms rotate all the way around. Just again, when you're doing this, just be careful. Just be careful. That's all I say. And the arms can also hinge out at a full 90-degree bend. He does have the bend at the elbow. You can also rotate that back and forth, and you can also rotate the hand. Although you're probably going to be fighting with the little straps of sleeve along the way. His upper torso does have a waist. He does have like a waist swivel right there. It's actually just underneath his belt. And then he does have these splits on the legs. Now, this is the case, of course, where you're going to have to be keeping an eye on where those hinges are. See how the hinges are facing forward right now? That allows the leg to move forward, ka-chow, and that allows the leg to move back. If you want to rotate the leg this way, then you want to rotate the hinge so it's facing the opposite direction. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Like I said, he does have a swivel at the top of the thigh. He has a hinge on the knee, and that technically he could go both ways, though I'm sure you probably aren't going to want to have Jack's legs bending both ways like that. And then he does also have foot articulation as well. Making the best with what they have to work with, of course, Jack Skellington's got to be one of the most trickiest of characters to turn into a figure, simply just because he's got so many spindly parts to him. That could equate for a more fragile figure. One good thing is, as you saw here already, the way that they work the joints, you're just simply plugging this back into place. That may happen a couple of times. No harm, no foul. And like I said, you can just rotate the arms back all the way around. But I mean, based on this type of skinny figure, Diamond continues to really put out some stellar-looking releases when it comes to their Nightmare Before Christmas pieces. I'm happy to now add Santa Jack. Let me just add on to that. Burnt Santa Jack to the existing Nightmare Before Christmas figures that I've been collecting along the ways. It seems like it has been a while since we've gotten ourselves new Nightmare Before Christmas figures. Though as quickly as I say that, Diamond pops out a brand new wave with this wave and the next wave, building the Guillotine area of Halloween Town, where I've made the mistake in the past reviewing these figures and I haven't actually put together the pieces of those dioramas. I hope to rectify that with this wave and the next wave as we go along the journey of putting together the Guillotine. It's, as I say that, let's see if that actually is the case. Jack Skellington is a good way to start this wave. The other figures we'll be looking at, of course, in upcoming videos, so you can keep your peepers peeled for those. But Jack Skellington, I think, is always the best way to go when you start brand new Nightmare Before Christmas figure reviews. It seems also the case that with every wave, we seem to almost get a new Jack Skellington in different colors and different costumes. This one happens to be him wearing his burnt Santa offerings. And it does look quite good, I have to admit, on Santa Jack. Not much has changed in his body. Still spindly, but don't let the spindliness of the figure turn you away from wanting to pick this one up. Diamond Select, of course, does the best with what they have to work with. Jack Skellington, gotta admit, is a difficult character to make a figure out of. I can't think of any other figure or character that would be so difficult to make a figure out of, like Jack Skellington here. He's got spindly legs, he's got thin limbs everywhere that you can see. But it doesn't mean that he's going to be a loose figure to actually have on display. If anything, the biggest problem ever ends up being just trying to get him to stand. And because they do include a display stand that plugs into the back of his torso, you don't have any real issues. I certainly don't have any issues displaying him. You can even go the extreme that I've done here in final looks of putting him in a gesture, having him do something than simply just standing there. The head sculpt looks great. The paint is good on this as well. A nice additional Jack Skellington that I can add to the existing collection that I've been collecting all this time. A big thank you to the folks over at Diamond Select who took the time and provided the sample, not only of Jack Skellington, but the other Nightmare Before Christmas figures that we're going to be looking at in upcoming reviews. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think of the Santa Jack. I keep feeling I'm forgetting to add in I'm forgetting to always add burnt Santa Jack. You get the idea. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think of the burnt Santa Jack, whether you picked up the figure for yourself or based on this review, and this review alone. If you're new to the channel and liking the content that you're seeing, perhaps liking the new higher res videos, let me know down below in the comment section, and make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, turn the bell notification on, and keep the bookends of your nose, those peepers of yours, peeled, as there's definitely going to be a lot more videos coming your way. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.